We did a survey about a week ago, and the question we asked you is that: do you think that the food crisis and famine will come for developed countries within 2 years? 83 people said yes. And thanks to subscribers, they wrote some comment in section. We are already at the beginning of the crisis now. I think it's basically unavoidable at this point. Yes, but less than 2 years, I guess around 1 year max. I agree with all comments, but especially for the last comment. A new crisis is at our door, and people will face a huge food crisis within 1 year. You will understand what we mean by the end of this video. Billions upon billions of ferocious desert locusts are ravenously devouring crops over a vast portion of the globe that stretches from Eastern Africa all the way to India. This unprecedented plague had to decrease by now, but instead the fourth generation locusts emerged, producing up to 8,000 times larger than what we saw earlier this year. Some of these swarms are the size of big cities. They can travel up to 150 kilometers a day, and when they land on a farm, they can eat literally in as little as 30 seconds. Since these swarms do not affect the United States, most Americans do not understand the enormous destruction that is currently occurring on the other side of the world. The United Nations warns that mass starvation will be approaching, and we are told that it will begin by the end of this calendar year. Each desert locust is very small, but they can consume large amounts of food. According to the United Nations, a swarm that contains between 40 and 80 million locusts can eat the same amount of food in a day as 3 million people. And it's important to remember that huge swarms of locusts destroy countless farms for months. What we have already witnessed is enough to create a major global emergency, and now the International Rescue Committee tells us that these last generation locusts are worse than all. A fourth generation of desert locusts, up to 8,000 times larger than previous swarms, could destroy crops at the start of the hunger season and leave millions facing food insecurity and famine, explained the aid organization in a statement. This the most serious desert locust outbreak seen in East Africa in 70 years, and compounded by the COVID-19 pandemic, poses an unprecedented risk to the region. The potential damage of the locusts could affect a tenth of the world's population. The outbreak is hitting Somalia the hardest, with Kenya, Ethiopia, Uganda, and South Sudan also heavily impacted. Women are facing increased risk of violence and economic hardship as a result. Previous swarms have already damaged tens of thousands of hectares of cropland and pasture. When these swarms of locusts approach a region, they can be thick enough to literally block out the sun. Authorities are spraying them with pesticides from the sky. By talking about countless millions of locusts in a single swarm, killing thousands of them does not exactly make too much of dent. In past podcasts about these locusts, I focused on the widespread destruction we have witnessed in Africa, and we will undoubtedly see a wide famine in the eastern part of that continent. This new generation hits Africa again, but what surprises many experts is how hard it is to hit Pakistan and India as well. A British news source uses the term Bible to describe the invasion Pakistan is facing. And Pakistani government has recently had to declare a national emergency because of locusts. tens of millions of people are set to face food shortages on the continent after a plague of locusts embarked on a path of destruction across India and Pakistan. In Pakistan, a national emergency has been declared after an outbreak of locusts on a biblical scale wreaked havoc across farmland in the eastern Punjab, southern Sindh, and southwestern Balochistan provinces. In western and central India, up to 125,000 acres of crops have been ruined during the worst outbreak of the country has faced in decades. An expert in India says that these locusts are unlike anything that his nation has seen before. Bhagirath Chaudhary, director of the New Delhi-based South Asia Biotechnology Center, an agriculture think tank, said, "We have never ever seen what we have in the last 6 months in India, never in the history." According to the National Geographic, a desert locust can eat its entire body weight in a day. As a result, such a swarm could decimate 423 million pounds of crops. Unfortunately, most Americans do not even know this is happening. Here in the United States, mainstream media was focused on COVID-19 and the erupting civil unrest, but this gigantic locust plague should be making front page headlines too. At this point, things got so bad that the director of the United Nations World Food Program warned that we are facing the worst humanitarian crisis since World War II, and hundreds of thousands of people are dying of hunger every day soon. Mr. Beasley painted a grim picture of 135 million people facing crisis levels of hunger or worse, coupled with an additional 130 million on the edge of starvation prompted by coronavirus, noting that WFP currently offers a lifeline to nearly 100 million people, up from about 80 million just a few years ago. If we can't reach these people with the life-saving assistance they need, our analysis shows that 300,000 people could starve to death every single day over a 3-month period, he upheld. This does not include the increase of starvation due to COVID-19. Fortunately, we are not facing a close hunger in the United States. However, this does not mean that everything is fine. In fact, a brand new study found that an increasing number of Americans were skipping or reducing the size of their meals because the economic conditions are now largely deteriorating. 1 in 4 Americans, which is 26%, say they or a member of their household have skipped meals or relied on charity or government food programs since February, including 14% who say they have reduced the size of meals or skipped meals because there wasn't enough money for food, 13% who have visited a food bank or pantry for meals, and 13% who have applied for or received SNAP benefits, the survey said. Many Americans take the business report last Friday as a sign that things will return soon, but it turned out that the report is not nearly as pink as many thought. In the report, BLC actually admits that a major misclassification error has been seriously distorting numbers, and the real unemployment rate is about 16.3%. When the United States government's official jobs report for May came out on Friday, it included a note at the bottom saying there had been a major error, indicated that the unemployment rate likely should be higher than the widely reported 13.3% rate. The special note said that if this misclassification error had not occurred, the overall unemployment rate would have been about 3 percentage points higher than reported, meaning the unemployment rate will be about 16.3% for May. According to John Williams of shadowstats.com, if honest numbers were used and the numbers were corrected for BLS errors, the real unemployment rate in the United States was currently 36.5%. So, no, things aren't good at all, but at least locusts are not eating all of our crops, and our population is not on the brink of starvation. We must still be grateful for the blessings we have and use the time we have to prepare for other things in the future, because the truth is that this perfect storm is just the beginning. Most of the idea, comment, information, and criticism containing in these videos have been created by Daily News Report. Before making any important investment decision, use the information contained in these videos as a starting point for conducting your own research. If you make any investment or legal decision, it is advised to consult an expert before making this decision.